Hey guys, this is Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? For more information about how I'm doing, go watch my Purge 2 video. Otherwise, I'm hanging in. Please like Amish Mindset, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And if you would like to support me and my work, if you ever got a mic drop, an epiphany, a connect the dot, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider helping me out, especially in this effed up situation I am in. It's an in-between, it's painful, it's horrible, and I can use all the help that I can get. As we can see here, my house is up for sale. I have my books that I am going to read in suitcases so that if I do have to move in a jiffy, they're going in the car with me so that I can do videos once I get reestablished, because I'm sure things don't always go well. So, yeah. I have the bare bones up, and I figured today, since I laboriously worked the last month, 2 months, to get my house in preparation to sell, that now I can kind of take a breath and get as many videos as I possibly can in before the unknown. Sorry, I keep hitting the table because things are rearranged. Oahspe, haven't touched Oahspe in a while. This is the Book of Aph, son of Jehovih. And sorry guys, this is really annoying. Keep jiggling. We're gonna pick up on chapter 10. Just before I even begin, just putting that out there. If you didn't see my Purge 2 video and don't want to go through it, that's totally fine. I respect that. I don't know when I'm going to move, because the fact of the matter is I have to wait until someone buys my house and I get the money in my account, and then I'm able to do what I need to do. So I have not been able to pay my bills this month. I don't know when the internet's being cut off, the electric, the lights, no idea. I pawned some items for last month. I don't have much now to pawn. I tried selling as much as I possibly can. I most gave it to donations. So I'm in desperity until I sell my house. And I don't know how long that's going to be, and I don't know when it's going to be. So, like I said, I'm going to do these until I can't. And then you'll see there's an absence of some sort for me. Either I lost everything or I'm in transition to moving, but I would do a phone update before anything else. So don't worry. I hope I explained all of that perfectly well. I do apologize. I have some crazy neighbors who are screaming their lungs out. I can't wait to move to a quiet neighborhood. I'm like an old grandma. I don't mind the kids laughing. I don't mind them playing outside. It brings me joy to know that they're doing those things. But what I can't stand is 12 hours of basketballs being bounced. 2 or 3 is fine. I'm used to that, but like 12. And kids screaming on the top of their lungs because they think something's wrong. I don't hate kids. I worked with them. But excessiveness is eats my soul. Chapter 10. Jehovih said, Niph, my son, God of earth, hear thou the voice of thy creator, for as thou callest on me in thy sore hour of trial, so did I come to thee and deliver the earth and heaven through my sons of the ark of Noah in Etheria. Remember now the uprise of Hatan, heaven of darkness, in Uklu, in the firmament, for they are thine until the next Dan appeareth on the earth. God said, I have heard thy voice, O Jehovih, but what shall thy servant do? Behold, Alph, the ark of sun, have left the uprise children of darkness, gods and goddesses who transcend thy servant so far in wisdom and power that he scarce can look upon them. How then shall it be with me, thy servant? Jehovih said, nevertheless, the uprise children of darkness are thine own family, and the glory of thy house in heaven shall be the light thou shalt make manifest in them. Fear not, the gods and goddesses understand this matter. Therefore, when thou hast put the kingdom in order and established the heaven of the earth in all its parts and stationed messengers betwixt thy throne and the thrones of tiny lords on the earth, behold, thou shalt leave the vice god to rule in thy stead for a season, and thou shalt go to Hatan in the Etherian forests, for thou shalt be expected of them. God said, thou will be done. O Father, I perceive thy wisdom and glory and justice. Now will I sojourn on my throne 1 year, and thou, my vice God, shall relieve me, while as I go and visit my rebellious children in Uklo, where gods and goddesses are overseeing them. The vice God said, thy will be done, God of heaven and earth. So it came to pass that in 1 year's time, God had established heaven in such a good manner that he could control the affairs of angels and men into the way of everlasting life. God informed his council, which consisted of 500,000 Etherians, men and women, of the words of Jehovih, adding thereunto, and for 1 year will I remain in Hatan, that I may become known to them whom I have risen. But at the end of time, I will return hither and bring with me such new volunteers as Jehovih may command. It was known in heaven that God would leave at the proper time, and to honor him in Jehovah's name, his hosts from far and near, to the number of 10 million, came to see him depart. And when God saw them, he proclaimed a day of recreation, and the people mingled together, and especially to converse on the matter of the deliverance of earth and heaven, and the going down of Pan, as it had been. On the following day, all hands being refreshed and assembled in order according to the discipline of gods and gods spake for the throne, saying, hear the words of your God and rejoice. Sorry, guys. In finding a new heaven, be wise in heeding that which I shall utter, and make yourself steadfast in all proven things. Here are millions who stood by my side in the name of the Creator in the days of darkness in heaven and earth. For 3,000 years our battle lasted, and from out of the darkness, behold, our prayers went up to him who is over all and above all. And your God said, surely Jehovah will deliver when the vortex mergeth into Haidan, and ye all repeated the same thing in unity of our souls. Desire reached up to the Orion chiefs, Jehovah's mighty sons and daughters. For as it is proven that a man in conflict with himself accomplished nothing, while as he who is in harmony with himself is mighty, wherein he ruleth himself to a good purpose, even so hath it been proven that the unity of many angels can, by force of their own wills, control the place and proceedings of a world. And by your faith in this matter with your God, ye become a star of faith in Jehovah, which is the mastering of all things, his glory. And they who were without all highest in person, were without power and of no effect, save to build up discord to our proceedings, whilst those who assumed to be gods and lords be ignored, Jehovih, were not sustained, for having nothing higher than themselves, they rose only to themselves, which is the manifested on earth, even as it was in those days, in heaven, boasting of good works or of good prayers, but housing themselves about with the earnings of others. Did not these false gods and false lords set up self and worship it, and the fruits of their inspiration and their slaves under them were the angels they sent to rule over mortals, for the glory of their philosophy, wherein mortals also soon said the same things of themselves, which was, behold, there is no God, nor Lord or wisdom in heaven. I hope you didn't hear what was going on outside. Car horns and realtor. Whereby the doctrines of the false gods and lords overturned even their own kingdoms, changing heaven into Hada. But when the light of Jehovah came, ye and your God and lords were one with his voice. Wherefore ye have been preserved in victory. And now hath it come to pass that your God and lords are established a new heaven and new earth for the glory of the Father. And he who labored so long in your love now goeth to the other wing of the battle, where your brethren toiling with those in darkness will rejoice to hear of your fruitful labors. Then God turned to his right and said to Allylat, vice god of Jehovih, because thou wert robbed of thy division of thy earth, even whilst thou wert in good work, hold the triangle of the gods in heaven until they returneth. Thereupon God hung the triangle on the Allylat's neck, saying, in Jehovah's name, all hail God of heaven and earth. The host of millions repeated, all hail God of heaven and earth. And God came down and sat on the foot of the throne in the custom of gods. And he who had been anointed came down and took his hand, saying, arise, O God, and go thy way. And God rose up, and the two with their marshals and attendants went down by the borders at the line of the pillars of fire, where the proper person had a ship with mantles and curtains in readiness, and God and his hosts, even 500,000 in number, entered the ship. Meanwhile, the ensurers sang an appropriate anthem of glory to Jehovah the highest. At a given signal, the ship started upward amidst the applause of millions of angels assembled, and like a star it shot upward higher and higher till it was seen no more. Chapter 11. The council of Horde being still in succession, God, that is Allylat, ascended the throne, and the light of Jehovah fell upon God, so that he was well nigh obscured from sight, and the voice of Jehovah spake, saying, hear ye my voice, as my presence and my own self I made each self, and gave thereto power of words. So am I in light manifest by soul words to my Etherian hosts. As to the lords of earth, ye have provided ashars, and above them asefs. And betwixt all my kingdoms allotted messengers, so shall ye also provide for barbarians, familiar spirits, who shall be subjected to the order of the ashars and their lords. I created alive all men, whether Ihins or barbarians, and your labor shall be not alone with my chosen, whom it is easy to say, but with those also who know me not, and know not my worlds. For besides those destroyed by the flood, behold, the earth is still covered over with men, women, and children. And in the time of Aph, ye received volunteers from Oahspe in Etheria, give them this matter in hand. This was done, and they were divided up into groups. And the Corporeans, having been already numbered by the angels of heaven, and the Etherians were distributed accordingly. And these again selected and appropriated familiar spirits to abide with the barbarians. And the familiar spirits were the fathers and mothers and friends who had recently died, but still sojourned in the first resurrection. So the officers provided places on earth for these spirits and persuaded them to reappear before mortals in order to prove continued life. But the officers never showed themselves. Jehovih hath said, provide ye the way, but cause the familiars to do the labor. Neither shall ye make a familiar of the spirit of a young man or a young woman, lest they become fetals. So it came to pass with the new department of heaven and earth was open and set on foot during the absence of Niph, and in 1 year the matter was in prosperity. At the end of 1 year, God returned from the Hatan colony, bringing with him 5 million volunteers, being of the third resurrection, and it being known in Horde when he would return, a great concourse of angels gathered together to receive him in honor and to welcome the volunteers, so that when God's Ethereal star descended, the vice god Elalet proclaimed a resurrection of 10 days, which was to follow immediately after God should ascend the throne and regain his presence. And so, whilst the ensuers were singing, the star alighted, and the marshals and hosts of honor proceeded to the places and received God, who at once ascended to the throne and saluted Allylat, son of Jehovih, saying, by the will and power of Jehovih, thy son rejoiceth in the time of this proceeding. Allylat said, welcome, God of heaven and earth, and he saluted with the sign of Jehovah's name, and was answered in like manner. Without more ceremony, he took off the triangle of the gods and placed it on God's neck, saying, in Jehovah's name, receive thou the gift of the ancient gods. Hardly had this been accomplished when the starship alighted in the floor of the Congress before the council and near the altar of Jehovih, and the 5 million volunteers allowed amidst the applause of the many millions assembled. God, being reinstated, said, let the marshals proclaim 10 days of recreation, for we shall account to our special loves how we found matters in Hatan, and of the power of Jehovah manifested. Chapter 12. The voice of Jehovah spake through God, saying, because a new heaven is established, and because the old hath been raised up, let signs be manifested, whereby men and angels in after times may know what hath happened. For it shall come to pass in later days that men and angels may forget the flood and the purging of the earth. Bethink ye, O gods and goddesses, what shall be done. Allylat spake in behalf of the council, saying, what shall we do, O Jehovah? And Jehovah's answer, saying, because I come near the earth in its early days, and farther off as it groweth older, men will say, at last the folly of the ancients, for I gave fear and faith as an heritage when men were weak in judgment. But with the growth of wisdom, I take away fear and the substance of things not proven to the judgment. Jehovah said, in Cosmon, men and angels shall ask for proofs. One will say, how is it possible to relate this word spoken in olden time? Another will say, how can it be proven that the old heaven was taken away? Hear therefore the words of your Creator. And when one saith, behold, in those days few men had the gift of words and speech, answer ye him, saying, even so was it in heaven, and because they had not words, they would not be made to understand. And after shall say, the Creator ruleth in large matters, but not in the small. And another shall say, because the angels come in Cosmon, so could they in the olden time. And ye shall answer them, saying, who knoweth the plan for the earthquake, whether it be small or large, before Jehovah? Is he not ever present? And do not certain conditions bring certain results? And they will answer, yeah. Say ye, give them a name to the highest cause, beyond all research, And they will say, be the ancients called Jehovih, and they shall perceive that they have entangled themselves in a net. For if the condition of ignorance on earth begot ignorance in heaven, how could the light of heaven come afterward to the earth, save from above? Since then the light of heaven came from above, who should invent the wisdom of the flood to come upon the speech of nations? Give them, therefore, words in heaven and words on earth, which are of the matters of this nature, and make the sound thereof secret, so that it shall be proven in Japheth, and Shem, and Ham, and Gautama, and in the heavens thereunto belonging, the voice of Jehovah cease. God said, thou art all wisdom, O Jehovah. Now have I a place for the new volunteers come from Etheria, for this shall be their matter and business with the familiars who dwell with the barbarians. So accordingly were they allowed, and they were enjoined to sing mortals the song of the flood, and they thus established its history to endure forever on earth. Chapter 13. All things prospered in heaven for many years, nor were there great wars on earth, nor famines, nor epidemics, and the lords of the earth had sufficient Lewis for all the faithless as to control in marriages, to bring forth sons and daughters who would rejoice in heaven. And as fast as they died on earth, these angels were carried to heavenly places suited to them, where they were handed into the care of Asephs and entered as Essenes. But the lords appointed no Lewis over the barbarians, and only commanded the Ashars to watch for their spirits to the hour of death, and if possible to bring them to the organic places of God in horde. And mostly they were so brought. This continued for many years. But in course of time, the familiar spirits aroused up in the barbarians, and they began to have dreams and see visions. For their familiars talked to them during sleep. And when this became common, Jehovah said, behold, the time is come to appoint a Lewis to abide with the barbarians, for herein will I reveal a great secret, which is that my chosen on earth cannot subdue it, for they are harmless and defenseless people. Therefore I created the barbarian wisely, for he shall drive away and destroy all evil beasts and serpents, and the forest shall fall down before him. For this purpose the Lewis shall select marriages with the view of raising up great kings and queens. But since in the olden time the kings depended on the prophets of God for counsel, and thus were advised against killing anything I had created alive, they quarreled. So in this time of the new heaven, ye shall permit the kings and queens to consult the spirits of the dead with the talents I have given them. I'm going to put a pause there and insert my opinion. In today's modern day, here in the now, I have a problem with this. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but from my knowing and from my abilities and for everything that I am, when my loved ones, my mother and father, come to me, I don't see them. I don't see a physical form. I don't see a light being. I don't see zip. I get a vibrational feeling from them. I feel like someone's holding my hand. That would be my father. I cry when his vibrations are too high. My mother, I get a sense of calm, and I feel the same feeling of holding hands, because those are the last two things I did with both my parents before they passed away. They send me signs and symbols through me, in me. They channel it through my consciousness. I don't physically see things. When I physically see something, a shadow figure, a demonic, evil things, what they're sort of telling you that the family members haven't crossed over. They haven't gone to heaven. They might not be evil, but if they didn't cross over into the light, they're in limbo, and that isn't kosher. I don't think that's okay. And if you're seeing those things 98% of the time, it's a lost spirit that just got attached to materialistic things that didn't go up. But there is a small percentage of them that are evil and wicked and will cause harm to you and your property, but you're feeding it. There's also PK manifestations that also look like familiars. So I just, when we say we're going to consult with the dead, you don't really die. Your energy manifests and transforms into the love and light. And even if you feel like you're going to hell or you're not moving up, you're still God's creation and you're in limbo. Doesn't make you evil. But then if you're trying to, get some help from somebody like me who is living and they're dead, sometimes they cause mischief just to get your attention. They're not trying to cause you harm, but there are demonics that will mimic that behavior until it gets really violent. And that's just my input. Kings and queens did have astrologers and tarot card readers. There's nothing wrong with that. But consulting with the dead, this sounds evil. Like of the negative polarity, not of the positive polarity. Just a little FYI. Have to insert that there. And barbarians. Division already? I mean, this book is nothing but division. Yep. This was done also, and the barbarians were attended by familiar spirits, many of whom took upon themselves any name pleasant to the ear. Some of them calling themselves God or Lord, or after the name of some great king of olden time, and these familiars, being stupid, supposed themselves to be such persons. The result of their stupid impressions was to inspire the barbarians to believe that they were attended by gods or lords, or by the spirits of the kings or queens. So they held up their heads and began to think. For as it had been said by the gods of ancient times, some are led by the flattery, some by self-conceit, some by duty, some by love of righteousness. But there are others who can be led to self-improvement by persuading them they are chosen, especially by some god or lord, or the spirit of the renowned king or queen, to work wonders. I have another problem with this. Back in those times, there were different levels of consciousness. When things are called stupid, I don't like it. I don't resonate with that word pretty much. Yeah, there are people who are low consciously thinking, but that doesn't mean they're stupid. They means there's other talents that they inhabit. Is this something God playing a role through you and your soul and the many incarnations? What do you want to be stupid? What do you want you to be stupid? We all sign up for these experiences, but again, many people get channeled messages. Many people get different things. People are convinced it's of the light. We don't know. Even for me, I know when my parents come because they give me specific things that no one else would know. I feel it in my heart. But that doesn't mean I'm not being deceived myself. But reading this and then thinking back, at the beginnings of time, it's just, this off-puts me by a lot. Because why are you deceiving the people, even the ones you created? God said there was a certain sick man who could not be cured by the physicians. So there came a foolish woman, seeing visions, and said to the sick man, tomorrow thou shalt be healed. God hath been trying thee, but thou hast proven thyself in soul, and thy God will withdraw the spell of thy infirmity. Behold, thy God standeth by thee. Now on the following day, the sick man put forth his own spirit and rose up and was well. Wherefore it hath been adjudged, even deceit may accomplish what truth could not. Suffer then the familiars to lead the barbarians on for a season, but ye watchful of the proper time to appoint new spirits to be with them. God said, instruct the lords that time is now come to reveal to mortals, especially to the Ihins, the 7 tetracts, for as the Ashars and withdraw apace, so shall mortals advance apace. Which is to say, these are the inheritances of all men born on earth. Anash, which is persistent stubbornness by word of thought. Zemaya, wicked device. Ra, delight in being bad. Belial, worthlessness. Aven, vanity and self-conceit. Diba, slander and reporting of evils. And Satan, to be a leader and especially to the light of the other 6 entities. These are the members of the beast of all men and women under the sun, nor is any one without them in some manner or degree. Go ye therefore to the lords and say to them, Jehovih hath set the beginning of the resurrection through Aph, his son, chief of the ark of Noah, and to lay the tetracts on the shoulders of mortals. The marshals of the council provided messengers who were at once sent down to the different divisions of the earth, for the tetracts were some of the words selected in heaven to be given as everlasting names, whereby in after ages the tribes of Faithus might be discovered, and they were given alike to the Faithus of Guatemala, Japheth, Shem, and Ham, who were the sons of the ark of Noah, preserved on earth in that day. For these words were provided in the Hebraic, Vedic, and Algonquin languages to be synonymous till the coming of the Cosmon era. That's interesting. Algonquin. I've read a lot of this book, and something just hit my consciousness, and I'm going to insert it here. Take what resonates with you, and you don't need to agree with me. This sounds like Yaldabaoth. This sounds like, I don't care who channeled it. I don't care how it was channeled. Yaldabaoth. Yep. The more I'm reading into this, there are things that have there's truth in every book to pluck out, and there's a lot in here, more than a lot of other books, but misleading. Misleading. I can't. Chapter 14. The voice of Jehovih came to God, saying, Behold, the time draweth near, when Aph my son shall commit the care of Hord and her affairs to another god for another 400 years. This, then, is the commandment of the Creator, O God. Hord shall advance to the second resurrection, but the first resurrection shall be established with my lords. And when the Lord hath sufficient number of souls who are advanced to take the second resurrection, then shall they be brought to this my holy place, where they shall be further prepared for the next resurrection. This was accomplished in heavenly kingdoms, with thrones for the lords, for the first resurrection were established on earth, and in the divisions of the lords, so that they were allotted to these lords kingdoms 33 years for the resurrection, because 33 is the division of Dan, corresponding to 100 Dans to each cycle. Accordingly, every 33 years thereafter, there was one migration of a group from the Lord's first resurrection to that of Hord, which the God's second resurrection. Thereby the light of Dan fell on 200 years, 400 years, 500 years, 600 years, and 1,000 years, which became the base of prophecy for each cycle from that time forth for a long period. God said, Close the gates of Hord, and from this time ever after only those of the second resurrection can enter. And it was so, and Hord was extended over Japheth, Shem, and Ham to the second degree, but Gautama, this is the manner of her heaven. The Lord made two kingdoms, the first and second resurrections, and allotted the first to a proxy in his own name. But over the second, he presided in person, teaching his peoples by proxy of Hord and God. For the distance of the sea lay between these heavens, and the access could not be made in the diminutive light of 33. Nevertheless, the Lord and his attendants maintained an Etherian ship that enabled him to cross the sea at intervals of 11 years. Accordingly, now in the second resurrection, new colleges were established in heaven, and the spirits began the study of elements and illustrations in S and Uz, and the process of travel and carrying corporeal entities. And these spirits were at times under Ashars taken down, two mortals to assist in miracles. Legerdemain. I don't know that word. For the lessons of the second resurrection embraced the mastery of purport and analysis and synthesis. After the first year of God in Hatan, he went therefore every 11th year and remained 1 year of the earth's time, so that in 200 years he made 18 visits. Now on his first visit he brought back with him a certain number of volunteers, being of those raised by the Ark of Noah. And the next visit he brought back twice as many as the first, and the next time 3 times as many as the second, and the increasing for the 18th visits. And on the last visit was the estimated how many he brought back in all, and the number was 1,000 million. And they were raised to the second resurrection, having been under the training of the gods and goddesses of Hatan, and under the direction of Aph, son of Jehovih. And now that the time of Dan was drawing near, and Aph should return to provide for the ascent of Jehovah's harvest, God looked up with a cheerful heart, for it was evident that by expiration of 200 years from the submersion of Pan, many of the spirits delivered from the earth in that day were to be prepared to take the second resurrection. Wherefore God prophesied, saying, Thou, through thee, O Jehovah, in another 100 years, I shall have delivered them into Etheria or Nirvana as thy brides and bridegrooms. Chapter 15. Jehovah spake in the light of the throne of God in Hord, saying, Behold, a star cometh. The voice ceased, but God and his hosts knew the meaning, for it was the time of Alph to return and complete his deliverance of Neph and his hosts, and his lords and their hosts. So the council were moved to look into the firmament, and the messengers who have heard the voice and who were departing of their various missions also looked upward, even as they sped forth to their places, and they proclaimed in the places of all the heavens and earth, and to the lords in their divisions of the earth. And the angels of heaven and those abode with mortals were stirred up, and because of their contiguity to mortals, and later comprehended that something unusual was near at hand. The council of Horde knew not how they should proceed, for the event was to surpass in magnificence anything they have ever witnessed. God said, I have heard the voice of Jehovih. I know a star cometh, and great shall be the glory thereof. Give me light, O Father. How shall thy servant know the decorum of Orion chiefs? Behold, I am one abashed with obscurity and thy wide universe. Jehovah's voice answered, saying, Fear not, my son, and let thy counsel be strong. Proceed at once to decorate thy people preparatory to receiving the resurrection, and those who are to be my brides and bridegrooms, clothe ye in white. The whole council heard Jehovah's voice, and they ordained officers to proceed throughout Atmospheria and put in effect Jehovah's commandment. And for the decorated angels and those prepared as brides and bridegrooms for Etheria were ordered to form in companies near the throne of God in Horde. And the officers of companies were also provided with badges, whereon inscribed an account of their labor on earth and in heaven, the number and nature of their charities and self-sacrifices for others, good, and their great impurity and power and wisdom. And the privates were decorated with stars to illustrate the same things. In degrees and numbers, and the stations of their file and horde were provided in order of music, rating them according to their chord and discord and their social adaptability. And for these things were done before Etherian judges, to whom Jehovah said, Let the people pass before you, and judge ye them. Then, that being assorted and arranged, they shall make one harmonious whole, for it is only by this they will have power to ascend and endure in my regions of light. There were 1,000,000 of these judges, and they took up their stations in different parts of Atmospheria, wherever the second resurrection had been established, every judge choosing a district for himself or herself, for they were both men and women. And as the angels passed before them, the wisdom of thy judges was so great they could comprehend all they have ever done, either on earth or in heaven. And by signals, the proper officers were advised how to decorate and adorn all of them. And as fast as companies of 1,000 passed, they were provided with conductors who took them to their places, which had been previously determined by the command of God. Whilst this work was proceeding, lights began to appear in the firmament above. These were the marshals of the Orion fields in Etheria, in their starships making course for Horde, and their number was legion. But presently one brighter and more powerful than the rest made way from the western arc of Oahspe, and it steered direct to God's throne, growing brighter and larger as it came. And when it entered past Shinvat and was within the vortex of the earth in the belts of the moon's orbit, the light sped across the whole atmosphere of heaven. And Horde was illuminated, and the angels of Horde were stirred up with the enthusiasm. Not long with the brilliant star delayed the suspense of the angels' word and world, for he who sailed them with was a god of millions of years, and by this wisdom attained so much millions of years, and by the wisdom to such mastery that the elements of earth and atmosphere gave way as if appalled by a heaven on fire. Down came the starship, whose majesty outweighed all ceremony and very crown of magnificence, even to the arena of council of Horde. And he who came attended by 500,000 was Suji, marshal for that which was soon to follow. God rose up saluting, and all the host rose up, whereupon Suji ascended the throne, greeted by God and his council. Near at hand, Suji said, by the will, O Jehovih, and God said, in thy name, O Father Creator, welcome to thy Son. And presently all the place was aglow with the golden light, which ranks first in heaven of all colors. And the voice of Jehovah descended on Suji, and he said, well, beloved, come, long enduring, come, of patience and steadfastness. My sons and daughters, behold, I came in the darkness and delivered me, for she was of twins heavenly laden, and the one dwelt with the mother, but the other I sent to nurse in Hatan, and they are grown to maturity, a son and daughter twin. Turn ye to Hatan, lo, the twin cometh. She was the puny child, but look ye upon her, O ye gods and goddesses. Her 1,000 millions come as an avalanche of giant worlds. Open your arms, O my beloved sons and daughters. The voice ceased, and Suji said, when the harvest of Hatan arriveth, attended by the gods and goddesses, who help deliver the children of the darkness, and who have changed them into beacons of light, behold ye, there shall be 3 days of recreation in atmosphere, for the hosts of Hatan shall be shown their native world, whence they came, and they shall read the lineage of kin and condition, whence they were rescued by Jehovah's son and daughters. But on the first day, behold, Aph, the Orion chief, will descend in all his glory, and on the fourth day, all your upraised sons and daughters shall ascend to the Ethereal worlds, where there are in waiting to receive you millions of souls, long since dwellers in Nirvana. Suji ceased speaking, having given commands as to the stations of his marshals around the earth and her heaven. God sent his messenger, saying, go ye to Wakha, and say, God saith, my heavens have been numbered, and the account of my labor is rendered and recorded in the libraries of Horde, and all of the hosts who have labored with the God. Behold, thou, O Wakha, standeth on the highest grade. Come therefore to the throne of thy God, and be anointed in God of heaven and earth for the next 400 years, and as long after as Jehovah willeth. The messengers obtained by 1,000 marshals departed for Ajun, the place of labor where Wakha dwelt, being a physician's nurse for Assyrians and stillborn mortal children and those killed by abortion. And they labored the message of God, to which Wakha replied, thanks, O Jehovah, tell God I will come, but let me surmise. I have been all my life now, some 30,000 earth years, trying to learn where I should be most serviceable to Jehovah and his sons and daughters. And when I judge that I have found it, lo, summons cometh from another way, saying, come thou hither. Therefore it seems Jehovah forever hurrieth us onward, faster than our wisdom can discover the requirement. So the marshals provided an Avten, and Wakha was conducted before Horde, even to the foot of the throne of God, where he was saluted and received under a rod with water according to his rank. I'm going to end it there, guys. Dyslexia is hitting me hard. Fun times. I also have buggies. I have some essential oil to help with that. That's what happens when people leave my door open and a flurry of hellstorm of buggies comes into my house, and now I can't get rid of them. I hope you enjoyed that. The ending was rough. I don't know what the hell was going on there. My brain's not processing right now. It's been a long 2 weeks. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope to be doing more in the next few days. Stay tuned. What have you done today to help another person? The Amish mindset. Spread it. Use it. Use your own terminology. I don't care. Get the word out. What are you doing to help other people? Whether it's a like, share, and subscribe to other channels, not just mine. It helps me out. But what can you do with your abundance to help another person today? And it can be nothing more than a click of a like. It's that easy. Look at your abundance and see where you can spread it. We need to start doing this every day. Sending each and every one of you love and light. And I hope to see you on the next one. Sorry for the delay. More is coming, but when we don't know, it's up to them. Divine timing. See you in the next one, guys. Bye.